So let's take a step back and let's talk about what's really going on. Whatever I see or smell or taste or hear or touch, it's really causing an electrical and chemical reaction in my nerves. And as they get to my brain starts to process this energy and the information that's associated with that energy in my brain. And if it goes too fast, I become overwhelmed by it. So if you looked at this from a simplistic standpoint, let's say I'm a small child and I'm learning how to play baseball. And I'm watching the flow of energy and information through my eyes of the ball coming at me. And since it's not coming at me that fast, I've learned how to function and hit that ball as a batter. But what would happen if I was a child and I had to face a major league pitcher throwing 95-mile-an-hour fastballs at me? It would be coming at me so fast that I would be entirely disabled by the speed of the flow of energy and information. But over time, I could learn how to use and respond to that speed. Now, if I haven't got there yet, I might be so disabled that I'm in danger because if the pitcher threw it at me, I'd end up hospitalized with broken ribs. So this concept is, it's really about the flow of energy and information overwhelming us. That's the problem. And if you look at this from a bipolar standpoint, we go through various stages of this flow of energy and information causing problems for us. So the first stage that some people, that's when they first find out, is what we call the crisis stage. And the crisis stage is when that flow of energy and information is so intense that it overwhelms us. So on this map, you can see on the depressed side, we're into the red zone, the danger zone. It's become so much of a flow of energy and information. And that energy and information takes on various forms. It has physical manifestation. We have backaches and pains and low energy. It takes on mental parts. We start talking to ourselves about how nobody cares about us and we just want to kill ourselves. And sometimes we hallucinate hanging and that kind of thing. There's a spiritual side of life doesn't have any meaning and what's the point? And there's an emotional side where we're just wrecked with overwhelming pain. And that becomes so much for us and we're so overwhelmed by that particular flow that we wish we were dead. And people like myself have tried to kill ourselves because we were overwhelmed by it. Now on the other end, the manic side, we're overwhelmed by those rapid thoughts and too much energy and we can't sleep and we can't behave and everybody wishes we were dead. That's bipolar. So this is crisis. And when we're in such a crisis, we need some kind of major intervention or else we're at extreme risk of dying, literally. Crisis stage can't be played with. When we get into a crisis, we have to take care of it, even if that means somebody has to force us to because we won't admit it. But that's not where most of us live. Most of us live in a place called managed stage. We've learned how to recognize what's going on, and we've learned how to manage our condition through various means. Medicine, therapy, making sure we get sleep, eating right, making sure we're not getting into stressful situations that are too much for us, and thousands of others. We've learned through a whole set of different interventions how to keep ourselves from getting into crisis, for the most part. But notice we're still kind of in the yellow zone and the red zone. We're still kind of in danger, and we're not liking it. That flow of energy and information is still too much for us. So we're still trying to narrow the range. We're still trying to keep that flow of energy and information turned down so that we can live a better life. And our goal is to get to a point where it's no longer controlling us. We get to a point that we call recovery, and recovery is our goal. Our goal of recovery is to lower that range of energy and information so that it's inside of our comfort zone, and that's the blue zone. So we're inside of our comfort zone, and everything seems fine, we're recovered. But we're still ill, because any day, any moment, we can get back into crisis. We're one bad night's sleep away from a crisis. So this is how we define recovery, and it's not how I define recovery necessarily, although I agree with this definition. This is the way almost everyone defines recovery. Recovery means I've learned how to minimize that flow of energy and information. I've learned how to keep the symptoms from happening. I'm recovered. And one of the biggest studies that have been done is by the federal government. National Institute of Mental Health did a study called STEP BD. And that study defined recovery as getting it down to only 2 symptoms over the next year. So they couldn't get it all the way to 0, but they said, well, we'll define recovery as getting it down to only 2. And as they looked at that study, they determined, according to the researchers, that even with the best evidence-based treatment, the best treatment we have, bipolar disorder remains a highly recurrent, mostly depressive illness the older we get. Pretty depressing. So they have proven by their own multi-year, multi-clinic research program, the biggest of its kind, that the concept doesn't work. Well, you know, we have another name for recovery. Bored. So we're bored. We wish we had some fun again. We stopped taking the treatment, and where are we? We're back in crisis again. So we can't find a way out of this trap. But they came to a conclusion in their study. And their conclusion to me is the very definition of insanity. We already know it doesn't work. Let's just keep trying the same thing over and over again, hope it works differently next time. So their conclusion is the absence of all symptoms should be the goal of treatment for everyone. That's how we define it. I call this bipolar disorder, and so does everyone else. This is a vicious cycle that will ask for the rest of our lives, that we be constantly vigilant and trying to minimize our lives to the point that some of us never even leave our homes because we don't want to be triggered into another episode. We're asked to live a bored, horrible life that is one bad night's sleep away from another crisis for the rest of our lives. This is what they call a paradigm. This is a belief system. And this belief system is the dominant belief system in mental health today, throughout the whole world. I don't agree with it. So I decided I was going to challenge it about 10 years ago. And I started gathering people together, people who had our condition, parents and loved ones that saw it from a different angle, and professionals. And I got them together and said, how can we come up with a better system? And over the years, it's developed more and more. And now I'll share with you where we are today.